So my undergrad was in agricultural economics, and when I was graduating, I knew that I wanted to work abroad, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so by going into the Peace Corps, I worked in an agricultural community, and I worked for the Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN, FAO. And so working through them, I got to see a lot of different aspects that go on in development, and I got a better idea of what exactly I wanted to do. I wanted to work directly with farmers doing agricultural development. Whereas before I thought maybe I wanted to go into international relations, or really I had no idea what I wanted to do. But after the Peace Corps, I really focused in on what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to pursue a master's degree in agricultural economics and go on to do agricultural development work.
I'm kind of in the same boat. So when I joined the Peace Corps, I really had very little idea of what I wanted to do. I thought I want to be a teacher. I was a teacher back in Colorado for about a year, teaching high school math and science. When I went to Peace Corps, same thing, taught math and science. But now I'm over at the Bush School, and I kind of do my own thing studying anti-corruption and information security stuff. And my experience in Peace Corps really showed me how working in development, all sectors of development, and just government, there's a lot of gray areas with like ethics and corruption and how like funds are handled and like what's right, what's wrong, kind of stuff. So coming from Peace Corps, it really kind of pushed me in that direction of really focusing on what I actually want to do with it. So that's why I stayed.
And my undergrad was finance, and so I went into Peace Corps and was given a project working, again, like I said, in rural microfinance, and so I was helping women start small projects and helping them get funds to do that, and providing some very basic, business advice. But after Peace Corps, I came here for grad school actually, and my degree from here is in land and real estate development. And so, although I've been working for Peace Corps now for almost 6 years after I finished my graduate degree, I am hoping eventually to get back overseas and enter back into the international development world. But I would like to focus on more infrastructure development and actually building physical structures and infrastructure, as opposed to the relationships are always part of that, but that's my focus.
So my undergrad was in international studies, and when I went to the Philippines, I didn't have a lot of background in project development, and my time in the Peace Corps gave me a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to practice project development. From starting a library and starting tutoring programs to working with youth or theater projects, lots and lots of opportunities. So when I came back to the States, my Peace Corps experience allowed me to get a lot of jobs as adjunct faculty, working in project management for the state of Maryland, managing a refugee and asylee program, and now coming back here, attending the Bush School for a master's degree, and then I'm going to be joining the Foreign Service afterwards, hopefully continuing my work in project management, project development. So that really came from learning in the Peace Corps in the Philippines.
Well, I joined the Peace Corps after gaining a master's degree in international development and worked in credit unions, which I knew not a lot about. But I came to understand the technical needs of what people needed overseas, and that's really what I got.
So you can see that there's varied backgrounds with varied paths afterwards, and so business school or agriculture, wherever you're coming from, the Peace Corps has an opportunity for everyone. So can each one of you maybe share a specific point that you would want to talk to and share with somebody here who might be considering going to the Peace Corps? If there was one piece of advice that you could impart on them, what would that be?
I'd say start planning early. If you're, freshman or sophomore, you can start kind of taking classes that might orient you towards what you think you might want to do. But the main thing is to start applying early, because when I went through the application process, it was a 9-month thing. So maybe they shortened it down.
We'll let Curt talk
about that.
I think if you're thinking about doing the Peace Corps, then you should just do it. That's my advice. It's definitely worth it. And if whatever you're worried about, if you just start thinking about ways that you can mitigate whatever your worry is. So, for example, there's one of my site mates. She's very close with her family, so her big worry going into the Peace Corps was being away from them for so long. But she was able to talk to her family about it, and they called her every day at the same time so that she was able to stay connected with them. And it worked for her. Sometimes it's different for everybody. But you can find ways to make it work. Whatever your worry is, there's something you can do to be able to do it and be successful in the Peace Corps.
Can repeat those for this? So my first point, that whenever people ask me and say they're thinking about getting Peace Corps, I always tell them, know what you want to get out of Peace Corps. Because I did, not to deter any of you, please do think about it, but a lot of my friends, like, they just whimsically join Peace Corps. And I would say whimsically joining Peace Corps is not the best idea, because you're spending a long time away from your family when you're like in America. But on the other side, I just forgot my thing. Yeah, it's just a problem. I forgot myself.
Well, for me, having, as a Peace Corps recruiter and having literally interviewed, hundreds, 500 people perhaps over the course of my time here, and hearing everybody's story as to why they want to be in Peace Corps, I can kind of break that into two main categories. We have like the both are great. The bleeding hearts who want to go and help and do something. And we have the folks who, and I was more in this camp as well, that are seeking adventure and the unknown, and they want to learn a new language and travel. Having a wide variety, or a wide variety of motivations for doing Peace Corps is really important and paramount. And it sounds so cliche, but your perspective on the world will change. Growing up in Dallas, Texas, in a very small bubble where everyone looked and thought like me, and then living in West Africa for 2 years, just removed the veil from my eyes. And specifically in Mali, 2 years ago, when there was a coup and there were many different ethnic groups involved, and I could listen to the news and say, I've been to that town, I know that ethnic group, and I was able to explain world issues and current events to my friends and family who were just like, where's that? What's going on there? So I love that about Peace Corps.
My advice to those that are interested in joining the Peace Corps is to really have a talking to yourself moment about the reason why you want to join Peace Corps. I see a lot of people that join for selfish reasons, and I think this is really key. You're going to a community and there's people's lives at stake, and if you're going there for selfish reasons, it's unfair to them. I've seen volunteers that go and they just want to have a lot of fun. But you can have a lot of fun here instead of going to a community and potentially messing it up because you were just there to have a lot of fun and ruining the reputation of America, that they get to see an American in that community. So I really tell people, before you join the Peace Corps, yes, it's a great experience, yes, it's hard, but you should really think about what you want to get out of it and what the reason why you want to go there. And if it's for more selfish reasons, then I would say stay in the States. If it's for reasons of wanting to go and learn and be humble and grow and assist people in their various communities, then I say that's a good start to considering the Peace Corps.
It is hard. It's a lot harder than most of you realize. It's 27 months. So that's half the time you're going to spend at Texas A&M. And it's also probably more fun than you could ever imagine for about the first 6 months. And then you realize you've got a commitment, and you're only a quarter of the way through. And you're a long way from home. And I didn't have internet, and I didn't have a phone that I could call on once a week. I relied on some British telecoms technicians who would patch me in through the exchange in exchange for a few beers, when I could get through. It can be very lonely, depending on where you go. But I would say it's probably lonely wherever you go, even Azerbaijan or Eastern Europe. Yes, a lot of people go for selfish reasons. What you may not realize, and you can probably back me up on this, is that when I joined, 30% of the people who joined ET'd, and that's not extraterrestrial, that's early terminated. They didn't finish. We lost 3 people before we got out of Philadelphia. Our training, our stage was 3 months long. I think we lost another 6 or 7 out of my group of 39. And then along the way, other people said, you know, I'm done. You know, a year into it, it's just facing another year for various reasons. They decided that they couldn't or they didn't want to complete it. So you do have to have a very sincere talk with yourself about what your motivations are. And it's difficult when you're there in your small town or village, and your cohorts are now being promoted in their jobs in New York or Philadelphia or Dallas or Houston, and just bought a new car. And I'm being very honest and blunt. I'm probably not doing recruitment too much good, but he'll thank me because it'll make his job easier. Because if you've had that talk and you've listened to what I'm saying and still want to do that, then you won't be on that flight home. So there's that side of it, but it changes your life. And I think Mike Dockery, who was not introduced earlier, is our most recent staff member at the Borlaug, is also ex-Peace Corps volunteer from Liberia, and same generation as myself, and prehistory. Start like that.
I'm sure I'm the oldest
Yeah.
future volunteer. One thing you mentioned, touched on briefly, and I would like to comment. Language. You speak Spanish, go to after you've had all these discussions and things, right, which you need to have, start thinking about your marketability.
Right.
Because you will be incredibly more marketable having completed successfully in 2 years. But think about language. You're going to come out in that's even 4, maybe 5. You'll be business confident in language. So choose wisely. Arabic, French, Spanish. I speak a language that 80,000 other tribal people in West Africa speak. Not marketable. Think about that.
You didn't talk to Jen.
Oh, yes.
You said yeah. Okay.
So, obviously,
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
that. And kind of fitting, I think, for the end. One of the things when I was talking to people and mentioned that I submitted my application, I got my nomination, going through the whole thing, like I'm committed to join Peace Corps, was I can't, and I'm from Boulder, Colorado. Boulder has like a pretty high sending people to Peace Corps rate. Robust. But I met so many people that said, yeah, I thought about Peace Corps. They're like, oh yeah, like I started the application process, but I didn't go it. And there's just, you could just like see in their face, there's so many people that are thinking to themselves, what if? What if? And I was just like, I do not want to be 20 years into a career and just be sitting like behind a desk and be like, what if I went to Peace Corps? Like, what if I made that decision? So that, for me, that was one of the big kickers, just like seeing that look. People, they're just like, oh yeah, I went and got married, or oh no, I went to grad school, or like I took this job because like it paid really well. And you could just see they're just like, oh. It's kind of like, you know, kind of like sad, like what if staring off and look at their face, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, you get one shot at life.
So, right. So it's no doubt that the Peace Corps is a life-defining experience, and it defines people's lives from all areas and all walks of life. Can any of you share an inspirational moment or an experience that happened to you specifically in the Peace Corps that has impacted you upon your return home and how it has guided you?
Not one. That's pretty difficult. The generosity of people. People who have, by our estimation, virtually nothing. And yet they would literally give you the shirts off their backs. And it's still something that I have trouble explaining how they do it. And that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, and I guess I have several as well. But well, I'll start by saying I think the most important lesson I learned in Peace Corps, which was totally unrelated to my job that I was doing there, was I kind of in my own mind kind of redefined the word poverty. And after my Peace Corps experience and traveling around West Africa, I can now view poverty as not a lack of material possessions, but a lack of options, a lack of choices. And that's what we have in the States that we don't really understand, that a lot of people in the world, and I say a lot, I mean billions, don't have, is choices and access to other opportunities. But anyway, that's my lesson. But I can remember one specific moment. I was on a bike, riding along this dirt path in rural Mali, and coming up to a village, and I see a woman who had one leg. She was on a crutch. She had her little panya, or kind of wrap, around her waist. She was topless. She had like 2 teeth, and it was probably 115 degrees, and she had the biggest smile on her face. And she was out there literally back-breaking work. Sweat of the brow, those phrases and terms mean something. They come from they're real. And she was as happy and content as could be. And I look at her and think, that's not like an American definition of success or happy right there. That looks like it sucks. But you see those things, and that image will always be with me.
I gotta think of one moment. So when I traveled, I don't know if I should say this, but we had a hitchhike everywhere. And one of the rides that I got was going from my town to another town to kind of the head of a committee, supposed to like lead a kind of committee meeting. It's in the evening, and I left early in the morning, and should have been 4 or 5 hour drive-ish. Ended up being about 11-hour drive. And we just like hitched this ride with this farmer who's driving 11 miles per hour. He's driving like 40 kilometers an hour. So I don't know how fast that is. 24 miles an hour on like a highway. So we're like cruising along, and it's just like his generosity and the willingness to like help us out was awesome. So he took us to his farm, and then we had like tea and cookies at his house. He took us to lunch and like showed us the puppies. It was like a super random day. Like I said, like took a 4-hour drive and made it like 11 or 12 hours. But it was just really awesome to see just the generosity of like one person to another, total stranger. And he's like, oh yeah, you're volunteering in my country. Like I'll totally help you out. Let me know. Like he ran a petting zoo in the Capitol. Like, come check out our and so just seeing like how fun like the crazy life can be, you can just go for it. But it was also just like that generosity and that human connection that you can just have a complete stranger. It was really cool. That was one of those.
And it's really cool to see all of the RPCVs that I've met from all different countries and areas of the world. They all have similar stories about how people are just so generous. No matter where you are, the people are so welcoming and really generous. And I think that's really neat to see that all over where Peace Corps is, people are having those similar experiences. But one specific story is at the end of our project, we were doing greenhouses for IDPs that had really small plots of land. And at the end of it, we decided to have this fair where all of the farmers could bring their goods that they had produced and show it off to the community. And for me, it was just really incredible to see the farmers were so excited to show what they had done and what they had produced, and just seeing that joy in their faces of being able to do something like that on their own and show it with their community was really incredible.
I think what I learned from Peace Corps is kind of what you said. You do a lot of projects. You do many things that you wouldn't have thought you could do before. So it's so empowering that you feel like when you finish your support service, at least me, I felt like you could do anything. Like there weren't any goals or any aspirations or anything that I could do. So I think it's really good from that perspective because you realize that you're made of more than what you thought you were. So you're more willing to really go after those things you really want to do. And I agree with what Curt said. You realize that you don't really need as much as you thought you would. And so I didn't have refrigeration, but I didn't need refrigeration. So all these things that you think you need, you really don't need. And then that gives you flexibility and resilience and willingness to do things that maybe other people aren't willing to. They have that experience. Like, I just want to go to here around it, but most people would. But I wasn't willing to because I had peaceful experience. So it kind of opens the door to more opportunities for yourself. And conversely, you see that other people don't have opportunities for. So for me, I think many people we want to help people develop the world, continue to have more opportunities.
I'll say something. There's a phrase in the Philippines called "Gayong ang buhay," which means that's life. So I was there during Typhoon Ondoy, which was a very bad typhoon. We had water. It was crazy. But they found ways to laugh. So I've seen people's houses get burned down or things happen, and they just find small ways to laugh. Like, I can't change life, but I can change how I react to life. And so that's what I really learned. If we didn't have power, even though we paid for electricity, that's okay. Let's go outside and play cards. If we didn't have water, that's okay. We can do something else. It was this type of thing of no matter what life throws at me, I need to find a way to have joy in it. And I've definitely taken that here in my life back in the States.
I can agree with you on that. And even in development, when we go to some of our projects, the people are so grateful and they're so happy. And you come back and your eyes see everything differently. Things that you completely took for granted, you start to notice. And is there any one thing that you guys want to share with us that when you came back, your whole perception was changed on how you viewed something, and how did you do anything about it, or did you make a change, or did it mold you to go in a different way? Can you share something like that?
When I came back and I was at Walmart and they had all this stuff. And it's so brightly colored.
Like AC, air conditioning.
Yeah.
The fact that we have lights, not going on and off, water, clean
washing machine.
Yeah.
I remember I was super excited to go sit at the B&B and get my license. Anyone, almost everyone there hates that process. I was just like, I can go there and I can get it in like 4 hours. I don't have to sit there and like bribe somebody's uncle's friend, or like the office is gonna be open. Like, just that consistency and that infrastructure.
Yes.
I depend on that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that just the abundance of resources too. I remember watching my sister-in-law wash some dishes, and she had both the taps fully open, yeah, and she turned around to talk to me, and all I could do was stare at the tap and watch the water. What are you doing? You just learn to minimize and the abundance that is here, that is taken for granted. And I'm sorry to say
never
that.
leave the water on when I'm brushing my teeth, ever,
But,
ever since I started.
And you don't realize it, I think, until you come back
Yeah.
and you have this gut reaction to it. You realize that you change.
I think, based on what you were talking about, I worked in Baltimore City for a while, so I saw a lot of people, sometimes, not everybody, complaining basically about the options that you have. So in the Philippines, you have high school. If you don't finish high school, it's over. Like, it's over. Unless someone magically comes in and brings you to college or pays for you somehow to make it to the next level of life. But you basically, if you don't finish high school at the top 5 in my community, you're not doing great. You're not going to have the level of life that we have. Whereas in the States, if you don't finish high school, you have GED. If you don't have GED, you have Job Corps. If you don't have Job Corps, someone else will come and rescue you and try to bring you to a better stage of life or have more opportunities for life. And so in the States, it was great being able to talk to the various people that I was working with in Baltimore, that these options that they have, they need to take it, they need to be more grateful for the options, because a lot of people would kill to have these options. That once high school is, if you don't do very well in high school, it's over. But here in the States, we have lots and lots of options.
I'm going to turn it over to Curt right now, and if you want to talk about the process now, and we can open it up for questions as well.
Sure. Well, as of July, 2 months ago, July 2014, our application process has completely changed. And so based on feedback that we've received over the years, the two main changes are, number one, our application is now what used to take maybe 8 hours to complete now takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour to complete. So that's a huge change. And secondly, we now allow applicants to basically apply to specific programs and countries. So you have more of a say in where you go. In the past, we would accept your application, your resume, review your skills, and look at our programs and see what we had available, and then we would match you and say, here's where we want you to go, please take it, I don't want to hear no. And that's probably how most of us ended up overseas. I did not choose Mali. But most of us would probably say, I probably would not have chosen Mali, but I'm so glad that I got sent there, and I had the most amazing experience there, and I literally can't imagine doing Peace Corps in any other country. I can't even imagine doing Peace Corps on the other side, on the eastern side of Mali. My site was perfect, and I had nothing to do with my placement. But anyway, but now we allow folks to apply to specific programs and specific countries, up to 3 in our new application. So you can identify 3 choices. One of those choices can be I'll go anywhere and I'll do anything. So I would recommend listing that as one of your 3 options. But the overall process from application to departure still takes 9 to 12 months. So I encourage anybody who is interested in applying, keep that in mind as you plan for graduation and jobs, selling, maybe getting rid of some items, that you need to submit your application still 1 year in advance. And on our application, on our website now, you can go and review the countries and programs that we have available, and it'll give you an apply by date and a no by date. So in our new system, if you apply by August 1st, you will know by November 1st whether or not you're going to be moving forward or not. And if you're not selected, then we just encourage you to do another application. It's only going to take 45 minutes, and so you'll just apply again and go through that selection process again. So there's a ton of new changes, things always changing overseas as well. So, but if you have individual application questions or process questions, you can find me afterwards. But since I don't always have a group of and we keep saying RPCV, that means Returned Peace Corps Volunteer. So I don't often have a group of RPCVs with me, so I'd love to just do questions, and you can ask us, what we ate and what our houses were like and what we did all day, and the type of projects we worked on and all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, so this is one for girls, but what do you think is different or hard in terms of safety and role of women in society and stuff like that?
What is hard?
How is it hard? Because in some places it's different. You're not as respected if you're a woman, and you can't be an encouraged person in role.
Where I was in the Philippines, they had a woman president before, so their view of women was kind of everyone's on the same level. We're in Asia, so respect and all of that came into play. I think more for me, it was being an African American woman, and not fitting the stereotype of being the blonde hair, blue eyed American that they thought they were getting. I was a surprise. So it was more of, I was a woman and I was an African American woman that affected my time in the rural area. But I had a wonderful time and it was just getting over that hurdle. I was completely safe. I know some places, if you're in the Middle East or in some other countries, it's a little bit more sketchy, but I always felt safe because I used my brain and made sure I was in the community and doing the right work in the community, actually doing my job the right way. So they looked out for me.
So in Azerbaijan, there's definitely a gender gap, and there's roles that are women's roles and there's men's roles. But for a lot of that, they didn't really apply it to me since I was an American woman. So they still respected me and would take my ideas and listen to them. But it was also, there's like a blessing in that and a bad side too, because they would also treat me differently, as their idea of American women is that they're looser. So people would approach me and sometimes it'd be a little questionable, a little sketchy. But definitely integrating into your community is really the key. You can always find community members to help you out if you ever get into a situation where you need help. And learning the language is also really key so that you can yell at them or get someone else's help, tell them what's going on, and they're going to help you and get you out of those situations.
I have no idea what country you're talking about. I don't know like what region they're in.
Oh, it's in Central Asia. It's by Russia, Georgia, Iran, and Armenia. On the Caspian Sea.
Did you learn the language while you were there?
Yeah. Yeah, so when you first get there, you go through training where you learn the language and you also learn technical skills. Mine was 3 months long, about that for most of them.
Okay.
How would you say that you, as a volunteer, are viewed by the community in which you are placed? Like, do you think they view you as like a Mr. Know-it-all, or as someone like needs time to just adapt to the environment?
Well, just very briefly, and I'll let these guys talk. The way Peace Corps places volunteers, we operate in countries where we've been invited. So, and each volunteer is assigned to work with a counterpart. That counterpart could be a school if you're a teacher, or it could be a clinic if you're working in the health sector. It could be an organization of farmers if you're in the ag sector. So every volunteer is assigned to work with a counterpart. That counterpart entity or person has requested assistance from Peace Corps. So we're placing you where you've been requested to start with.
It was very interesting that many people looked upon us. There were some other volunteers in the town where they looked upon us with disbelief, and some of them openly said, "You're actually working for the CIA, aren't you?" Because, and some of them we could never dispel that. They could not believe that someone would voluntarily leave America and all that they have and come and work in their community and live with them as they were living. Over time, as you stayed and you became part of that community, and I would strongly advise people, you have to become part of the community. You won't survive if you don't. I mean, psychologically, it's just very difficult. You know? But as you stay and you gain acceptance, they still don't quite understand it, but they know some of the suspicion disappears.
Over here.
One has to do with the exchange. Like you just mentioned, integrating into the community is really important. So, how do you compromise the mission that you have and the development project that you've been assigned, and also respecting their careers and being individuals in that community, and trying to kind of find that common ground?
Well, I think kind of how you said, you have to really become part of the community. So one of the things that I learned about Peace Corps that really changed the way I looked at a lot of stuff is a lot of people, especially with development, you come from the outside as an expert and you come and tell someone what they need to fix. And that's complete opposite of what the way Peace Corps works. Peace Corps, you are placed in the community, you work within the community to fix things. So you do have like certain issues where like you still have your American perspective, but like a lot of volunteers won't really start a lot of their like core projects until like a few months in, because you spend your time integrating, getting to know your community, learning the language, like really actually developing a relationship with everyone in the community, or as many people as possible. So a lot of it is you really work to understand what's going on with them, and it's not how can I help these people. You kind of look at it as like how can I help us.
I agree with that totally. But it's about, in the Peace Corps, it's about relationships. So you understand that everything you do depends on the relationship and what people want. So I've seen a lot of projects where relationship is not the important thing. It's like, we've got this tranche of money, we want to do this for this country, and we go out and we do this project, and there's a project, I'm not going to say which one, but they failed to create relationships with the people that they were working with, so that their whole project disconnected and falls apart. The first thing you do is what you do in the Peace Corps. If you want to be successful, you go out and meet the important people, talk to them, kind of what they want, how they do the thing, and I've seen a lot of development projects that I think USA kind of misses with a set of it's going to drive the success of it. I mean, forget it, and it's all about, okay, we got this project, we have this money, there's $3 million, whatever the $1 million is, we spend it, and then once the project's done, we forget about it, and then the next time there's another project, and we forget about it, we're not connecting them together. We're not thinking about people, we're not engaging with them long term.
Right, that's kind of my follow-up question is, so there's this 2-year timeline, and I want to understand what's the sales rate of the need and what happens to whatever it is it's working on, is there a business or when this volunteer comes in and somebody locked up, or what happens?
Well, as part of your training, at least during my training, which was also 3 months long, language and technical, we're taught work yourself out of a job. You've got 2.5 years to work yourself out of a job. And we do have counterparts, and I would say that, echoing what Mike said, I learned as much, if not more, while I was there. I hope I conveyed some knowledge. I hope that my being there made a difference. You will take a lot away. Here I want to support the recruiter. You will take a lot away in terms of experience, as well as language skills. So it's not it's not a zero-sum game by any stretch of the imagination. But work yourself out of a job is what we talk about.
I think just a lot to follow this. I saw, while I was a Peace Corps volunteer, I saw some volunteers that, what I talked about earlier, they had their own thoughts about what they wanted to do as a volunteer, and those projects are non-existent today. But sustainability, so if you work within the community, it's their idea, you're supporting, you're linking, you're writing grants, you're saying, here, let me show you how to write a grant, so I don't have to write one again. Or have you considered this group or this group? It flows out and it continues. So the program that I was able to help foster that discussion, they've won awards. Other communities have come and are getting trained at that place. And I've been out of there since I left 2011, and I still get updates. And that's sustainability, and that's key. And I think USA sometimes forgets that part. If you comes from the inside out, it'll stay.
Right. Sustainable development is, I heard that word and phrase, 100 times a day here in grad school. I heard it first in Peace Corps, but that's what volunteers do. And so, as I mentioned earlier, it's about a transfer of knowledge and skills to the community. It's about building trust and relationships with the community, so that, and it does take a while. You don't show up on day one and sit in front of a meeting, a town hall like this. But 6 months in, once you can communicate in the language, and you've gained the trust of the village elder, you now have validity among the rest of the folks. You can sit in front of a meeting like this in a hot building with no AC and fanning yourself and sweat rolling down, laying out the goals or the timeline for something that you want to accomplish. And everyone keeps talking about training. That's where you learn to integrate into the community. That's where you learn the cross-cultural lessons that you need to know that separate a Peace Corps volunteer who is living with, eating the same foods, speaking the same languages, looks like the locals, as opposed to other organizations who do great work and have their place. But the hallmark of a volunteer is someone who's living in the community just like the folks they're working with.
For those of you considering a career in international development, the same holds true. Our most successful projects have been those that we have gotten the community to embrace as their own, so that when we left, it was their project that they were continuing, not what we had started. So it holds true with international development as well.
What was your day-to-day schedule like? You just said that you really don't even start with project development until 6 months in. So what do you do?
Oh, Peace Corps is so unstructured. It's not 9 to 5. It's very ambiguous. It takes a lot of initiative. It takes being proactive and creative. And so, you know, generally, not in every case, you know, some volunteers are teaching in schools that has a start time and a class period and an end date and a summer schedule, etc. Some volunteers, and it's not all village life, some volunteers live in big metropolises with showers and toilets and lights and electricity and computers, and they work, you know, a very structured day. But so it varies in every country. Even within one country, it's going to vary. My time was, you know, very unstructured. It wasn't, you know, it was, the bank I worked at was open a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon, only on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But if it was cloudy or rainy, or it was time to harvest peanuts or shell peanuts, so it just varies. It's very open, typically speaking.
I think one of the most important things that I learned that really stuck with me during our training was, so during training you get like people that have been in country for a year, however many months, and they're talking about what they're thinking. And they said, you'll change the way you view work. Like Americans have a very distinct way that they view productivity and work. And as a Peace Corps volunteer, like there's 3 goals of Peace Corps. The first goal is technical, like helping other countries with technical assistance. But goal 2 is teaching people of other countries about American culture. And then like the 3rd goal is teaching Americans about other cultures. But for that second goal, it's kind of funny because I said, yeah, if you're sitting around with your village elder or whatever, like that's Peace Corps work. Because you're engaging with the person of another culture, and just in doing so, you're teaching them about American culture. Like teaching kids, like talking to girls about, oh yeah, like girls in America, like do all this or whatever. Because you know they'll come, like I was in Namibia, it's an international country, and there's a wide gender gap. Like potential of like what they can do for a girl versus a guy, and it's really funny. I'm like, oh yeah, girls do all this, and they're like, what? Sir, no way, that's amazing. It was like, yeah, like go study, like read books, whatever, do whatever. And so, just the fact that engaging people is like being on the phone, kind of cool, or having like conversation, like your mom.
But during the first 3 months of training, it's quite structured.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing, that the Peace Corps is an excellent trainer for individuals who want to work in international development. You have your language classes structured, then you'll have your cross-cultural classes, and using a wide array of techniques. Your technical classes. When I trained, we did basically 6 weeks in of technical training in French and cross-cultural training. For those, then you went on a site visit. You went to visit another volunteer, and nobody held your hand. They said, "He lives in that town. It costs this much money. You know, here are your francs. There's the taxi park. He's expecting you." And you went and you spent time working or living with them, seeing what it was like. Then we had to get ourselves back to another site, because where I was working, we had to study 2 languages. So we went back to another town, got ourselves back there. Continued with technical training, motorcycle maintenance, what you needed to do your job. When you get to the field, though, you know, that's that's where you actually start learning from your counterparts normally. But
We have
sir,
one more question. Time for another question.
Kind of along those lines, and I know y'all have talked a lot about your training. I was just wondering if it was the training that helps you the most once you're in your community, like as an outside resource that you had before you went, or if there was something new once you got to your community that you were able to kind of rely on as an assistance or an aid in getting your community to sustain itself.
I think it's your emotional fortitude.
Yeah, I'd say it's just kind of like, it's just like school. Like, you can come out of school and you have a lot of training, you know a lot of stuff, but once you get out there in the real world, it's what you're doing. Like, your emotional fortitude, like your grit to like bear with it. Like, the thing that helped me most when I got to my site was just, like I said before, engaging the community, just like taking that initiative and being proactive. Because we had all our culture training and all our language training, and that can only take you so far. It's that being proactive, like that's kind of motivation.
And I think like the issue that you might be working with, so let's say you're working with young girls in poverty or something like that, desire that you want to see that particular organization grow, you will knock on doors. And if people say no, 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 no. Out of 10 no's, you might get a yes. Out of 50 no's, you might get a yes. So it's that desire that you see those kids every day and you see the need and you can possibly link somebody up with them that can help change that. I think no outside amount of training. It's your connection with the different organizations or issues that you see that push you to succeed.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. And if you have any questions more,
Very good. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and yeah, let's give another round of applause not only to our panelists but to Francine. Well, wonderful. Our next seminar is September 29th. I think that's a Monday, and it's going to be Jeff Simmons, who is the CEO of Elanco, is an animal health company, and he's going to talk about how that is connected, you know, the latest and greatest in technology in animal health, and how that is connected with the Borlaug legacy. So I hope that you can make it for that seminar. I'm not sure if it'll be in this room or not. I don't know if that's the case. Yeah, we're going to try to do it at AGLS, the big ag building. So thank you again very much. And any questions you have, I guess, Curt, did you pass around?
Yeah, I passed around business cards. If you didn't get one, there should be a stack somewhere. I had no idea so many people were going to show up, so I did not bring enough stuff. I also passed around these little one-sheeters about agriculture and Peace Corps. I passed around also a catalog as well. So, but business cards should be full. Does anybody have a stack of extras anywhere?
What is your email address? What is it?
Oh, it's cbaker2@peacecorps.gov.
There you go. cbaker2. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the day.
What happened?
Oh, Kyle transitioned to, yeah.